What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. Today it's Game Week 22 team selection time. Very quick turnaround. The game week only finished yesterday for Game Week 21, and now we're already looking ahead to Game Week 22. Deadline tomorrow at 4:30. So lots to talk about. Obviously, it was a bit of a weird week. There's some big talking points around Spurs players, Chelsea players, Man City players in particular. I'm obviously going to take you through how I'm looking for Game Week 22 as well, transfers, captaincy, and also some future transfer plans as well. I know a lot of people liked me using the transfer planner last week, so I'll probably do that again at the end as well. If you're not already following me on Instagram, make sure you do. Road to 10,000 followers. I'm very close now. I'm also doing a giveaway over on there as well, so make sure to check it out. And if you check out the stories, right, if you're an Instagram user, there's something cool over there as well, which I'm sure you'll want to see. So make sure you go and follow me over there. I think I'm about 400 people off that 10,000. Otherwise, give the video a like if you enjoy it. Hit subscribe if you're new around here, and let's talk about OneFootball. I'm very happy to say OneFootball back again, sponsoring the team selection video this week. Do you want to keep up with the latest injury news? Would you like to know when Harry Kane might be back so that Spurs don't look completely awful like they were in Game Week 21? Make sure you give this app a download. There's loads of stats on there, lineup news, team news, goal alerts, all that good stuff you want as an FPL manager. There's a very handy link in the description below. Click through on that. No matter what device you're on, Android or iOS, it'll take you straight through to the store to download it. Obviously, since I kind of first started doing OneFootball sponsorships on the video, they have had an overhaul of that app as well. It looks much better than it did when we first started. So if you haven't tried it, it's completely free. It helps out the channel. You can find out when Spurs are not going to be awful anymore. Just click that link in the description below and give it a go. So it was another pretty good week in Game Week 21. Since that wildcard in 18, it's just been green arrow after green arrow after green arrow. I am fully expecting that to come to an end at some point, but right now I'm just going to ride this wave and be extremely happy with it. Now, I only went up 300 places, but when you're in the top 1K, that's obviously quite a big swing. So I went up from, like, I think it was 989 to 679. I gotta be honest, I thought it was going to be higher come the end of the week, given that how it started, the fact that Gundogan captain blanked. But obviously, a lot of people had like Sterling captain, Cancelo captain, and their vice captain went to Salah in the end, who obviously scored massive points. And I did have Salah in my team last week as captaincy when I did the video. I also talked about bringing Calvert-Lewin in, but at the end of the day, or by the end of the week, by the time the deadline came around, I changed my mind on the thinking of who I was going to bring in for multiple different reasons, which I won't massively go into. But obviously with these team selection videos, I'm not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. I'm not trying to say this is my transfer, but I'm definitely going to change it before the deadline. Usually I don't, but sometimes it happens. So that's what happened this week. I got 75, took away the 4-point hit. So I brought in Grealish and Son for Saka and Souček. Now, I've got to be honest, I thought when I saw that Saka wasn't in the squad and Souček got 1 point against Liverpool, I thought I was quids in. I thought that 4-point hit was going to be massive. Grealish only got an assist plus the clean sheets, that's 6 points. And then Son to completely blank. I said on stream, on the deadline stream, that I was kind of all over the place with captaincy last week. It was on Salah originally, and then I was looking between Gundogan and Son. I think maybe subconsciously, I said this on the stream, perhaps I picked Son because I brought him in to justify the hit. But I think his fixture was difficult, so was Salah's. I think the biggest thing that I maybe overlooked is that Liverpool are actually quite good, and Spurs without Kane are probably a lot worse than I thought they were going to be, which we'll come on to in just a minute. So it was a captain blank, but Stones and Cancelo, who both missed out, I got Holding off the bench. That was 0-0 with Man United. So Wan-Bissaka got 8. Holding came off my bench with 8. So far was the other one that came off my bench. Just a 1-pointer there because obviously Liverpool scored the 3 goals. I also benched David De Gea, who got 7 points. And at the time I was thinking maybe I should have played him, but we'll see what Martinez does. And then somehow Martinez comes out with more than 7 points and he gets the 10. So overall really happy. Like I said last week, Bamford was going nowhere. 15 points, absolutely massive. 15 for Salah as well. Obviously, he hadn't scored for a while, so it's nice to see him get back scoring. But again, I said on videos over the last couple of weeks, I wasn't really looking to get rid of him or Liverpool. Their numbers were still good. They just happened to not score goals. And the last couple of matches, they've scored, what, is it 5 now, I think, as well? So looking pretty good going forward. Gundogan blank frustrating, Fernandes blank frustrating as well, but I don't see too much of a need to sell them just yet. So yeah, 679 points overall. I've passed the 1400 mark. Things are going well, but obviously there is a lot more of the season to go to kind of keep this rank up. So let's look at about how we're going to do that going into Game Week 22. So going into Game Week 22, just the one free transfer. Obviously I did Grealish and Son in last week, and because that was such a big increase in money spent. I've only got 1.7 in the bank, which sounds like quite a lot still, but obviously we know the De Bruyne to Gundogan move meant that a lot of money was saved, but I've spent a lot of it on Son and Grealish. So not too much in the bank, but not too many players I probably need to bring in right now that are more expensive. And I still do have some positions in my team that eventually I will get money from. So Chris Wood, for example, he's on the bench. He could be downgraded. Plus one of De Gea or Martinez. That would probably give me over 2 million extra to spend. So I'm not too concerned about it right now, but obviously that's going to be a transfer at some point that I'll have to use to get that money. And I've also spoken about recently that I want to roll a transfer at some point, either this week or next week, just to be able to get into game week 24 with 2 free transfers. It's going to be good to be flexible in that week because we'll have double game week news at that point and we'll know for sure what is happening. But looking to this week, obviously there's some concerns over Cancelo and Stones. They both didn't start the last week. I think ultimately we knew that Diaz is the most nailed on. Cancelo has looked pretty much nailed. He's only missed a few games, but now over the last couple of 3 or 4 games, he has missed I think 1 or 2 now, so it is a little bit of a worry. They do have Zinchenko there who can play on the left, obviously Walker on the right that we know. I still think he's probably quite a good option going forward, but I will not lie, at some point if I've got a spare transfer, I might just bring Diaz in because he looks like he's just not going to miss a minute when he's fit, and Stones is a slight concern. I will say that it kind of makes sense for Man City to give Laporte some minutes. They don't want to just have him rot on the bench, right, and just not be prepared to play against anyone in case there's injuries. There's obviously European matches coming back soon as well. There's going to be other cup matches too. So it's good to have Laporte fit. I think against Burnley, these two should both play, which is good because hopefully that's a clean sheet. I think the match afterwards, which again is in quick, it's only 4 days after the Burnley game, is Liverpool. So I think that one will kind of give us some indication about who Pep still sees as his first kind of choice team. Obviously, he always experiments with different teams, even against teams like Liverpool. But if Stones plays against Burnley and then he plays against Liverpool, I think that will tell us all we need to know about who is kind of first choice alongside Diaz. It doesn't mean that he's not going to miss games, of course, but I'm not too concerned right now. But like I said, if I get a spare transfer, I'll probably upgrade one to Diaz, and it would probably be Stones because I just think Cancelo. If I'm gonna pick one defender that's got a bit of rotation throughout, I'm going to pick the one that's got the most upside when he plays as well. I don't think Stones is going to be scoring 2 games in a match anytime soon. In defence, I've got De Gea and Wan-Bissaka. Now, they got a clean sheet last week. I don't think that was completely out of the blue or unsurprising because Man United versus Arsenal was always going to be a tight game. And most of Man United's games against the traditional top 6, right? Because right now that top 6 thing is all messed up, have been quite tight. I don't think the same is going to be said of Southampton. What I will say is Southampton have been quite poor going forward recently. They should have scored against Villa for sure. But ultimately, over the last kind of 6 weeks, their expected goals is quite low compared to most other teams. So I think I'm going to play both of them. One of the reasons to bench Martinez is when De Gea and Martinez have similar difficulty in fixtures, I always feel like playing De Gea is the better option for me because it's a little bit different. Everyone owns Martinez anyway, so if I think him and De Gea are kind of similar in terms of keeping clean sheets, I'd rather gamble on De Gea and then hope that Martinez concedes. And also, Martinez is playing Aston Villa, so as we'll see later on, Martinez is playing West Ham, and as we'll see later on, I've got West Ham attackers, and therefore I hope they score, and therefore Martinez won't have his clean sheet. So I'm going to play De Gea. The other thing is, do I play Wan-Bissaka? Do I go for the double up in Man United defence? Obviously, the defence is pretty good. It hasn't been great this year, but it's not bad at all. I have so far against Aston Villa, I'm not going to play him because, again, I've got Aston Villa attackers, and I don't think West Ham necessarily keep a clean sheet in this game, although their defence is very good, but Villa's attack is very good as well. So the other option is Holding against Wolves. Now, Wolves haven't looked great going forward recently, so he is an option, but he is away, right? Whereas Man United are at home. And I know at times Man United have performed better away. The thing is, I was going to play Holding, and then I looked at the numbers, and Wolves, although their attack hasn't been great, it's still been better than Southampton in recent times. The one thing with Southampton is they do have Romero back now as well, and I'm not saying he's a great attacker by any stretch, but I do think he makes that Southampton team tick over. He's more solid. He's going to win the ball back more in the centre of the pitch and get them attacking more. So it's going to be a difficult game for Man United. We did concede once or I think it was twice to them last time, both set pieces. which is frustrating. I think both of them were set pieces. One was definitely off a corner. Man United have struggled at set pieces this year. I think we saw that with De Gea in the last game. You can kind of just block him off. He doesn't cope well with it at all. So it's a bit of a risk playing double Man United defence, but I think playing De Gea against Martinez is fine, and then it's just Holding versus Wan-Bissaka, and I just think I'll back the double Man United defence in that case, just because I think Southampton have looked a little bit weaker, but I might change that. Otherwise, Cancelo and Stones definitely playing and not going anywhere for now. So there's 5 midfielders to choose from. Where do we start? Because there's kind of question marks over probably all of them. Right now, my captaincy is on Salah, and that probably looks a little bit knee-jerk because he's just scored 2 goals after not scoring for, what was it, like 4 or 5 games. But Salah was always my captain. Right? I tweeted that the day before they even played West Ham and said that he was my captain going into this week unless something major changes. I don't really see who else I would put it on. I think Burnley for Man City is a bit like Sheffield United. They can make things tough and keep the score down, albeit Man City obviously did put quite a few goals against them in the reverse fixture, but no De Bruyne. I think that is a big worry against them. They could struggle to break them down. Grealish, again, not much of a goal threat. Son against Chelsea. And Fernandes against Southampton. So right now, Salah is probably the standout captain for me. I think Liverpool look quite good. I think Trent is looking better and better every game he plays now. I know there was that kind of patch where he wasn't looking fantastic, and obviously he did miss some of the season, but I think he's looking much, much better now. We'll have to wait and see if Mane is back. I know a lot of people make out that Salah is so much better without Mane, but ultimately they're a stronger team with Mane in it. Yes, they do have another goal scorer, so maybe that's not a good thing, but the game against Brighton should be good. I know Spurs struggled, but Liverpool have got players that can make things tick, right? They can create chances. Robertson and Trent, let alone any of the midfielders as well, with Thiago in there. So there will be space for Liverpool. I think Brighton are one of those teams that don't really sit deep and defend. They can defend well, but they like to play too. And in the reverse fixture, Salah should have come out of that with more returns, to be honest. I remember watching it. He was throwing goal quite a few times. And it just didn't get the points basically that he probably deserved or on another day might get. So I'm quite happy with Salah. Let's go through the rest, right? So Gundogan, some people are probably concerned because he's just blanked against Sheffield United, but again, I do think that was the kind of fixture where that could have happened, and it did, right? So that's why I kind of got put off captaining him in the end. And this fixture could be the same. And it's hard to know exactly how they're going to break teams down every week without De Bruyne. Obviously, they've got great players, right? Foden's decent. Mahrez is probably going to play this week as well. And they can create. And I'm sure they'll do better against Burnley than they did against Sheffield United. But in terms of captaincy, I'm not quite there. I don't want to go for Gundogan. I'm not even really considering him, to be completely honest. I'll just put that open now. If he scores a hat-trick or 2 goals again, fair enough. But I'm not really considering him for captaincy. Worth noting, he had 0 shots against Sheffield United. He also only had 2 shots in the previous game. He happened to score both of them against West Brom, which is good. So he's not having as many shots in the last couple as he had like in the previous games. But I wouldn't yet write him off. For me, if De Bruyne is back, I will absolutely look for a way to get him in my team. So I'd rather just have him for Man City's double game weeks. But as we've said before, last game week, they should have, or probably will have, double game weeks in 24, 26 and 27. So there's not really much upside in selling these Man City players, even though after this week they've got pretty tough fixtures. I think they play Liverpool, Spurs and Arsenal. Right, if they've got double game weeks to go along with that, you can kind of just say, okay, fine, I'll keep them. So Gundogan is staying for now. I can't go up to Sterling. I'm not going to switch into Foden. So yeah, he just stays on the team. There's no point in using a transfer on him. Fernandes a little bit of a worry. He now hasn't scored an open play goal for like 8 games or something like that. And obviously we're seeing his points dry up as there's not really been too many penalties for Man United. And I think every time I do the captaincy video, his shots in the box are coming slightly down as well. Wasn't great in the last game against Arsenal. To be fair, Arsenal obviously defended quite well, so they made it difficult for Man United. But what I will say on Fernandes is, even forgetting the money, right? Even the fact that we don't need the money necessarily right now, the next 4 fixtures are some of the best fixtures in FPL right now. So Man United play Southampton, Everton, who we scored 3 goals against both of those teams last time out, by the way. I'm not saying that will happen again, but it's good enough fixtures. And then it's Newcastle and West Brom, or West Brom and Newcastle. So the fixtures are quite good. So Fernandes really goes nowhere. In fact, he'll probably be my captain at least twice in the next 4 game weeks, I think. So I know he hasn't been scoring, and people will talk about form and all that stuff, but as shown by Salah, form changes very quickly, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that weren't considering him for captain this week who now are, and I think the same will be for Fernandes. When you look at fixtures like Newcastle, I know they did well against Everton, but Man United is a different ball game altogether, and then West Brom, he will probably be my captain. I don't see better options in those weeks. That might change, but that is why he's staying in my side. I don't see a really big reason to transfer him out. Son, I am concerned about without Kane. They were awful. I do think possibly against Chelsea, Vinicius will play. Son will go back to playing on that left as he normally does, but play centrally in attack, and obviously off the last man's shoulder, trying to get in behind Chelsea. I think that's a tough game. I didn't expect points in this one anyway, to be honest. So it'd be good to just see how Spurs do. But Chelsea have been playing well since Tuchel come in. 2 clean sheets in a row. This is obviously going to be more difficult against Spurs. But I think Bale will probably come straight back out of that side. I just don't think he was good enough to warrant playing again against Chelsea, but who knows. So Son I'm a little bit concerned about, but again, form kind of goes out the window when you're playing West Brom, which he is in game week 23, and he'll probably be my captain. So little frustrating I've bought him in and got no points, and I'm also expecting no points this week, but in game week 23 he's going to be great. And Grealish I had to bring back in. I love the guy. He just makes Villa tick. He's always creating chances. He gets goals too. I think he's got something like 16 returns or something like that in 19 games, maybe even 17. His consistency is ridiculous. I know he got 5 of those returns against Liverpool, but he continues to tick over, and he's always in the mix when it comes to Aston Villa, and potentially on penalties when El Ghazi isn't on the pitch as well. I think Dean Smith said a while back that El Ghazi's the penalty taker. If he wasn't on the pitch, it would have been Jack. Now that might change now Barkley's back. But yeah, he could be on penalties too. So really good game. I think West Ham is difficult. We saw that against Liverpool, that West Ham can be difficult to break down. But I think West Ham will feel like they've got more of a chance against Villa, so might play a bit more, and that will play into Aston Villa's hands. They're very good on the counter, and in general make good decisions and always cause other teams problems. And I think, like I've said before, Man City, Spurs and Villa in attack for double game weeks in 26 will probably have some of the best fixtures, and that's why I wanted to bring Grealish in. I love the guy, very cheap, really good asset, great value, so him and Son are in. So I think that midfield looks good on paper. It hasn't necessarily been performing that well recently, but fingers crossed it can going into game week 22. And then going up front, the out of form legend Bamford with his 15 points. I think like one of my strategies this season, right, all jokes aside, has been not to make too many defender transfers, because I think ultimately with defenders, the ceiling is not necessarily that high. Like if Alonso is a sure starter for Chelsea, for example, I'd love to get him in. He does have big upside. Cancelo obviously does when he plays, and Robertson and Trent can as well. But outside of that, for kind of less money, there's not really usually a massive upside in using lots of transfers on defenders, which is why I'm not too bothered about keeping Wan-Bissaka. And I spoke last week on the transfer planner section about why that was. And I think the same with cheap strikers. Like I've seen people already who did Bamford to Calvert-Lewin now thinking of reversing that. That's, for me, that's absolutely crazy. I think in FPL it's perfectly fine to admit you've made a mistake. I made a mistake with Bamford. I wrote him off at the start of the season and I said I would never bring him into my team. Since I brought him in, I've not even thought about letting him go. And look, maybe at some point you bring him back, but I think reversing Calvert-Lewin to Bamford is just crazy, because they both have a good fixture this week against each other. And ultimately, whichever kind of cheap strikers you got out of Calvert-Lewin, Antonio, Bamford and Watkins, I would probably just keep. I think for the foreseeable, there's not really too much use in using a transfer on them. I've got Wood. Wood even has good fixtures coming up, by the way, after Man City this week. He might be injured, but after that, he has pretty good fixtures. And I'd kind of be okay playing him because he always gets chances as well. So right now, until we get more info about Game Week 24, I don't think there's too much... or 24 and 26. I don't think there's too much reason to be changing strikers. So I'm definitely not changing Antonio. When he's fit, you know it. When he's fit, he's in the team. He might go for game week 26 because West Ham probably not going to get a double game week. So that's something to consider. But I could bench him. It's all going to depend on how much money I need and which players I want to bring in, right? Is De Bruyne back? Is Kane back by that point? There's lots of question marks over it. But this is the team for this week. I don't feel this needs... a transfer, and like I said, I do want to roll. And also when I look at the transfer planner in a minute, which I'll do again because I think people enjoyed that, I think I've probably got the chance to roll again next week. Now obviously I won't want to do that. I will use a transfer, but that might let me take some money off my bench, or perhaps go for a kind of luxury move like an Alonso or like a Chelsea defender as well. So that is the team. right? Bamford's got a dead leg, but I think he's probably going to be fine. Obviously, I'll wait on news on that. If he's not fine, I would probably keep him because I doubt he's going to miss too many games, and probably either play Wood or Holding, or just transfer Wood to another striker like Calvert-Lewin and just bench Bamford instead. I think the team looks good on paper. I'm not sure about how it will perform, especially in midfield, but Salah is captain. Unless something major happens, I'm making no transfer this week. I think it's a good time to roll. And let's look at the transfer planner for future game weeks. So if you saw me use this last week, you'll know it's from a site called livefpl.net. Really great site. This is where you find out what your rank is before FPL is updated. So for those of you that when I go onto my streams I say this is my rank, because I already know, this is where I find it out. And they also have a completely free transfer planner as well, so it gives you an indication of who you should play. Obviously you can take that into account if you want to, you don't have to, and then you can make changes. So this is my game week 22 side. Obviously you've just seen it. I'm not looking to make any transfers, and then the great thing is I can just go to game week 23, which should load, and then I can see what my team will look like in game week 23. So straight away I can see that I've got Stones and Stones and Cancelo against Liverpool, which is not ideal. Wan-Bissaka against Everton, which also potentially is not ideal, but I do have Sofal against Fulham. So potentially I could play him instead of Wan-Bissaka, or him instead of Stones. So straight away that's telling me, even though Man City have got difficult fixtures, I potentially can just make a move with my sub bench to cover that. I think so far West Ham against Fulham is a pretty good chance at a clean sheet. So arguably I don't need to make a defender transfer. I could just play Cancelo and just leave it at that, or play Holden against Villa if I wanted to. And then I look at the rest of the fixtures. So Liverpool are playing Man City, so that is tricky. Obviously, I've just mentioned that. So in midfield, I've got Gundogan and Salah. Now, I probably wouldn't make a transfer for obvious reasons. I still want them going forward, but that's not ideal. Chris Wood on the bench, though, with Brighton at home. I could conceivably play him instead of someone like Gundogan if I wanted to. There's obviously some risk with that because Brighton are not pushovers, and Gundogan would probably be on penalties if Man City got one. And against Liverpool, who knows? So I might not want to do that, but it gives me the option. And this also tells me that in game week 23, I don't really need to make a transfer. Like, you look at that team, like, who would I swap? Son against West Brom, definitely not. Bamford, Antonio, 100%, they're not going anywhere. So if I'm rolling in game week 22, I've also got the opportunity to roll in 23. Now, I won't want to do that. I want to use a transfer because I don't have a wild card. I'm not in a position to make such luxury moves. But given that Wan-Bissaka and De Gea, like if I go to game week 24, you can see here, if I switch this, you can see here that Man United are playing West Brom. So I don't know why I can't go down any further than that. It's a bit weird, but you can see the team anyway. So there's no way I don't want to play them here. So in game week 23... there's no point in transferring one of those two players out because I want them for 24 and I want them for 25 when they play Newcastle. And again, I look at the rest of the team. What are the issues? Son against Man City, but he's probably going to have a good double game week, so I don't want to get rid of him. I could play Chris Wood against Palace instead of Bamford against Arsenal. I've got options basically. And obviously, double Man City defence, again, might not be great against Spurs. If they've got a double game week, I don't care. I'll just play them anyway. But I have so far against Sheffield United on the bench. So I've got really good options. So this tells me that game week 23 might be the time to make like a luxury move. That could be holding to Rudiger at Chelsea, for example, if he's played again. It could be holding to Alonso if he looks like he's nailed on, which I'm not sure I'm going to have the luxury of doing that, but I'd like to. So using a transfer plan is really good to see where you need to kind of plug holes, essentially. Like, where have I got an issue? And do I need to make a move? How does that team look for next week? So, for example, for Game Week 23, like I just said, defence isn't great, but I've got so far on the bench to cover one of the Man City players if I want to. And yes, double United defence against Everton is not ideal, but they both have West Brom the week after, so I don't really want to transfer them out. So it's important to do that. But as it stands right now, Game Week 22, I don't need to make a transfer. I don't feel like anyway. I don't think there's any players I'm missing out that I need to attack, like I need to bring in. And in Game Week 23, I might be in the same position. So that's going to be a week to either take some money off my bench or potentially make a luxury move like a defender transfer. Maybe that's even the week that I do Stones to Diaz. We'll wait and see next week. But for now, that is my Game Week 22 team. Let me know what you think. There we go. That is team selection for Game Week 22. Deadline tomorrow. So make sure you get your transfers and captaincy decisions locked in as quickly as possible. If you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a like and hit subscribe if you're new around here. The subscribers keep rolling in. It's amazing to see. So thank you very much for all your support. If you want to try out OneFootball, it is completely free. I highly recommend that you do. There's a handy link link in the description below. And there's also links to all my social media accounts, especially Instagram, trying to get to 10,000 followers. I'm very close. There's a giveaway over there right now, so go and check that out. That's open until 11:30 on Tuesday morning when I'll pick a winner for that. And also, if you check out my stories, there's something very cool over there as well, so make sure you check that out. Otherwise, I'll leave it there. I'll be back tomorrow with some more content. I think I'm probably not going to have a game week preview video this week, but I'll look to put out Captaincy tomorrow, as well as doing a deadline stream at 3:30 to count us down to the 22 deadline. And obviously for the rest of the week, we'll be looking at game week 23. Lots of content coming, lots of football, lots of FPL, hopefully lots of green arrows as well. Otherwise, give it a like, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you soon.